Good morning, Shavua Tov. Please grab some nosh and coffee and water and come find your seat. Thank you.
Raina, are you ready for us to start and go live? Are you ready?
Ay, 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 yadaday, ay, yo, dadaram, ay, yadaday, ay, yo, ay, yo, ay, yadaday, ay, yo, yadaday, ay, yo. Yadadambayo, yadadai, yadambai, yadadambayo, yadadambayo, yambayo, yadadambai, yadadambayo, yadadambayo, yambayo. Yadambai, yadadai, yo, yadadambai, ho, yambai, ho, yadambai, yadadai, yo, yadadai, yo.
Welcome to our annual meeting. One of the challenges of starting a synagogue gathering on time is that the people in this room genuinely like one another. So you arrive intending to find your seat, and suddenly you're caught up in conversations and introductions and catching up with friends. And what looks like socializing is actually community building. So I love this gathering because it shines a light on all the work that sustains our sacred community. Some of that work happens publicly, and some happens quietly behind the scenes, but all of it matters. And this week's Torah portion, Shlach, offers an important lesson about leadership. There are 12 spies. They all see the same land, yet they tell very different stories about what is possible. Most saw obstacles, and Joshua and Caleb, they saw opportunity. So leadership comes from not ignoring challenges, but from helping the community imagine a hopeful future. I've been reading a book called Mattering, which explores a simple but powerful idea. People thrive when they know they are valued by others, and when they know their contributions make a difference. In other words, we all want to know that we matter. A congregation is one of the places where that can happen. We matter when someone notices that we're here. We matter when our ideas are heard, when our efforts are appreciated, and when we know that our presence makes our community stronger. Communities flourish when people feel connected, valued, and needed. And as I prepare to conclude my time as your pastoral care rabbi, I've been thinking a lot about mattering. And one of the gifts this congregation has given me is the feeling that my presence and work here has mattered. And for that, and for the trust you've placed in me over the years, I'm deeply grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But mattering is not only about what we receive from community, it is also about what we create together. We matter because we accompany one another through life's tender moments, offering comfort in times of loss, sharing in moments of celebration, deepening our Jewish lives through learning and caring for one another along the way. We matter because as a congregation, we strive to build a more just, compassionate, and caring world. Our individual contributions matter, and our shared purpose matters as well. So as we reflect on the year that has passed and looking to the year ahead, I want to give each table an assignment, and for those on Zoom, I invite you to write in the chat. This is our prompt. Where did you feel connection to Shir Tikva during the past year? And take a few moments to discuss amongst yourself.
And it's sweet to see some of
Okay. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna go around to each table, and if there's one comment somebody wants to make where they want to share how they felt connected this past year to Shir Tikva.
Everyone is so Minnesotan. I was just saying that for me, it was when my mom died and being here and having the Shiva here and having her memorial service here, and we just show up for each other.
Well, I was in the streets with everybody else, but when I came here, I could chill and soak into our roots. And this was like the center for the city for many, many things. But for me, it was always centering for me. But I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
The amazing warmth and welcoming that I was given. I'm Daniel Berlin, and been in Shir Tikva for a little over a year now, and just the vibrancy and joy of this community and how open-armed everyone was.
It was hard because I have so many categories. But of course, being at services, I always feel connected. Since joining Meal Train, I've become connected in a different way because I meet people individually that I wouldn't normally maybe meet at services or elsewhere. And it's really nice. And sometimes we still keep a connection. And then when we see each other, that's really good. Also, taking classes has been really great. Thank you.
For me, the first connection is definitely through tefillah and music.
I'm going to read some Zoom contributions here. I can't read them all because they're abundant, but I will call out a few, especially repeats. So Friday nights and the Macomb Minion, Weisenheimer gatherings, lunchtime Torah study, the Yesod Fund, Musar, Kavra Chirisha, LGBT elders, Wednesday nights and Sundays, jammy, cooking together, and choir.
I know there's so many more. So I just want to close with a blessing that may these stories of connection become threads in the fabric of our shared life, reminding us how we matter to one another shapes who we are as a community. May our community have the deep awareness that we matter to one another. May we carry with us moments when we felt that we matter, when we were seen, when we were welcomed, when we were needed, when we were reminded that our presence makes a difference. May we continue to be a congregation where every person matters, where no one is invisible, where every voice is heard, where every act of care helps another person feel that they matter. And may we be strengthened in our shared commitment to build a congregation and a world rooted in compassion, justice, and love, so that all may know that they matter here.
Hello all, my name is Abby Shane. I use she, her pronouns, and this is my last annual meeting in service as president of the Board of Trustees. And thank you. Joe is thrilled. Second spouse of the congregation after Noam and Seth. Thank you all for being here in person and on Zoom. I want to give us a little bit of an orientation of why we're here and what we are here to do. We really have two purposes here. One is to look back and celebrate, because we have had a year of growth and deepening and extending, and there is so much to celebrate. And then two is looking forward, where we have some work to do and some votes to take about our commitment to the direction that we're going in as a congregation. And many, many people have worked hard to put together a budget that reflects our values and invests in our space and our people and our mission. And we're eager to have good conversation with you in hopes of passing it. It is now my turn to do a tech check to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to express their vote when the time comes. And so if you are on Zoom, you will see a question on your device pop up, your iPad, your phone, your laptop. The question is, are you a member of Shir Tikva? And please select your answer with only a moderate amount of discernment. That's in my script. Thank you, Jess. And we will see if our vote online is working. It looks like it is. Thank you to Raina and Jess for figuring out that system for us, and for those of us who are in person, that we have our Zoom members projected onto a screen, so that if you have your camera on, know that you are being seen and witnessed and appreciated. I am now going to, do I need to officially call it to order? Okay, it is my honor to officially call the annual meeting to order. And now I'm going to pass the mic to Jess, Jonah, and Jace. I've started to call Rabbi Ariel Jariel to share about what our year has been.
Oh, I'll start. Great.
Hi, friends. Wow, it's so sweet to be in this community. What a tremendous gift and delight and pleasure. And my role over the past year and moving into the future is continuing to work to grow and support and tend the beloved membership of this community. And so I want to give a few pieces, a few updates specifically around membership, which, first of all, is that over the last fiscal year, July to July, June to June, we've grown about just under 10%. So that means that we've added just under 50 new member households, and we have close to 620, we passed 613 member households, yeah. And I have to tell you, I talk to every new member. It is one of the best parts of my job. I get to meet so many of just the most wonderful people in the world. And they say over and over that their coming to Shir Tikva has been an incredibly welcoming space. I hear so many times some people in this room called out by name as the person that greeted someone at Shabbat services online or in person. This room is what makes our membership, I mean, you're all members, and what makes people feel at home at Shir Tikva. And so I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for every person in this room. And over, people come to Shir Tikva because of this beloved community. A couple things I'll note about our new members is it's a community of folks who finding Shir Tikva through all different ways. They're new parents, they're grandparents, they're young folks in college, they're young folks moving to the Twin Cities, they're children of Shir Tikva members who grew up here, moved away, and came back and said, it's time to come home. I know, it's so sweet. And as a part of that, I'll say people are inspired by our welcoming community. They're also deeply inspired by our approach to membership and our caring community. I share about our caring community with every new member, and people cry. People well up with tears and say, this is what I've been looking for. I've never met a community who wants to show up like that. And everybody in this community proves how powerful that is over and over and over. And our new members are showing up everywhere. They're at religious school. They're at Friday night services. I'm going to spotlight one person in the room, I did this with permission, helping to co-lead our soil tenders and taking on new projects that deeply enrich the community. So, Tuvia, will you forgive me? I'm gonna bring you the mic for 30 seconds to tell you about a project that our soil tenders is taking on.
Hi everyone, I'm Tuvia, he, him pronouns, and I'm just starting out joining Tracy Deutsch in leading Soil Tenders, which, if you don't know, is our kind of social justice event email list. We've set up near the piano a place for you to log anonymously what you've done during and after Operation Metro Surge. We have colored push pins that you can put in a map, color-coded, to different activities, and then we'd really love if you'd write up a memory or something that sticks out to you as you think back, especially about mutual aid, on an index card and put it on the smaller bulletin board. Folks on Zoom, we're still figuring out how to do this securely electronically, so hopefully we'll have something similar in the near future.
Thank you, Tuvia. So as I pass the mic, I'll just say thank you for all of the ways that everyone in this community makes this community, for all of the ways you invite people in. And please, 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 just invite you to continue sharing your ideas and your dreams with me about what membership looks like here at Shir Tikva. And it'll be a joy to work collaboratively with everyone in this room, including our Membership and Engagement Committee, which is hosting new member meals. There's leaders in the room, and if you're interested in that work, please come find me. And I will pass this way.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi Jace, thank you. I'm Jonah Rothstein. I'm treasurer of the congregation and incoming co-president. Thank you all for being here. I'll just share a quick fiscal update on the past year before Jessica speaks more in depth. So the past fiscal year was certainly unpredictable and one of the most transformative years in the history of the congregation. We set a budget with a bottom line of minus $3,600, so close to net zero. I think we can achieve that bottom line, if not a balanced budget or a surplus, but we can only do that with your help. As of the end of April, we have an operational deficit of negative 60,000. This is pretty typical for that time of year, if not less than typical, because we allow member households great flexibility in how and when we pay our pledge dues. I'll foreshadow some of Jess's remarks by asking you to pay your outstanding pledge dues, GME B Mitzvah and adult education tuition, in full as soon as possible, but certainly before June 30th. I was gonna physically hand Jessica my last dues check, but I forgot it in my desk, so imagine that I'm doing that right now. Thank you. Right, in the box. The drop box works, yeah. Thank you in advance for making your payments before June 30th, and with that, I'll turn it over to Jess.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jess Markison. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the executive director of Shir Tikva. And thank you. I am delighted to have good news. Financially, we have been good stewards of our resources, and our budget reflects this commitment. Last year, through a tremendous amount of collective effort from this community, we closed the fiscal year with a balanced budget. I believe we are on track for that again this year. This does not mean we've solved every financial challenge facing progressive Jewish communities, especially Shir Tikva's unique challenges, but it does mean that we're building greater stability, better systems, and a healthier financial culture. This progress belongs to all of us. This year has looked somewhat similar to last in that both revenue and expenses increased. We have simply done more together. We've eaten a lot more meals together, celebrated life cycle moments together, learned together, and organized together. Two areas we've seen particularly strong results revenue-wise were our High Holy Days fundraising season and the Spring Gala. We continue to benefit from the implementation of Shul Cloud, which has given members more autonomy over their accounts and given staff better tools to track. We also still navigate the challenges of inconsistent revenue from month to month. A significant increase in spending this year comes from a choice we made together, investing in our physical home. We pulled $120,000 from Shir Latid, which is our investment fund, to begin implementing our long-term facilities investment plan. Much of that work has already happened. We've painted, installed new flooring, and begun making long overdue improvements to our space. Next are extensive sidewalk repairs, improvements to our grounds, and continued investment in sustainability and long-term maintenance. And there is much more to come. These projects are not glamorous, although they kind of are to us, right? And they matter. They ensure that our spiritual and communal home remains safe, welcoming, and vibrant. As of the end of April, as Jonah said, we're carrying a deficit of around $60,000, which is typical for us at this point of year, as late winter and early spring are traditionally slower revenue months for us. The gala, final pledge payments, and settlement of account balances all play a significant role in how we close our books. And so, as always, dun dun dun, where we end this fiscal year is up to all of us. The single most important thing members can do right now is fulfill any outstanding financial obligations. We currently have around $200,000 in outstanding pledges and $75,000 in outstanding tuition payments from both JME and adult education. Paying your balance in full can be the difference between Shir Tikva ending the year with a deficit or ending on solid financial ground. A surplus is within our reach if our community steps up in full strength and abundance. Thank you for making this place possible, not only with your presence and attendance of our annual meeting, but with your partnership in sustaining it.
It's a joy to get to share some updates from the course of this last year together with Rabbi Joey about our programming and our community impact, the ways that we've been moving through holidays and time and space and community together. And I want to offer a little bit of a framing about how Rabbi Joey and I are thinking about that work right now and into the next year, which is a framework of rooting and reaching. I'm thinking about a tree with a really strong core strength and deep grounded roots that enables arms and leaves to reach out really, really wide to do the work we want to do in the community and the world. So we want to talk a little bit about both of those things, starting with the rooting.
Throughout this year and the year to come, we've strived to build systems of consistency and grounding. This might sound, I don't know, a little bit boring, but to me, it is beyond exciting. Some highlights have included launching our Disability Justice Committee that is striving to make all of our programs truly accessible and truly communicate the honest limitations that we have, and building out systems to communicate more effectively with our adult and youth learners. Now for some reaching.
Some of the ways that we've really been reaching this past year and hope to continue is towards art-based programs, bringing theater and music and art and like some chutzpah. It's always been there, but continuing to bring it out in our holiday programming and in other parts of the community. It is also through inviting people in really deeply and openly, thinking about our programming as reaching different parts of our community and being really intentional about how we do that and making sure that everybody finds their programmatic road into Shir Tikva. And then the final thing is really thinking about our wider community, the web of interconnection that holds Shir Tikva within it, how we're investing in our relationships with our community partners, like our friends at San Pablo, St. Paul, folks throughout the community that we're connected with, and how we're continuing to move our resources, our love, our care, our spirit, our joy between all of those partners in relationship.
Jason and I, in brief, are going to highlight three moments throughout this year that we feel particularly proud of. Okay, moment number one, Simchat Torah. As always, our community gathered right here on this bima and on the floor of our sanctuary to celebrate the giving of Torah by unrolling and dancing with the Torah. I should have said that in opposite order, dancing with the Torah and then unrolling it. We did not dance with it unrolled. This year, Simchat Torah also served as the debut of our Simcha band. The band is made up of Shir Tikva volunteers who have deepened their practice of klezmer music under the direction of our master teacher, Daniel Lentz. On Simchat Torah and throughout the year, to make us a verb, they Shir Tikva'd us. They made and embodied joyful and hopeful song, shoring up the musical infrastructure of our community. If you have any interest in playing with them, they are always looking for new members, always looking for instrumentalists of any sort. Please come find me.
The second event I'd like to highlight is the best party I went to all year, which was the Weisenheimer's Hanukkah party, where we had well over 50, close to 60 people in this sanctuary, singing, dancing, eating latkes, drinking cocktails mixed by Rabbi Ariel and I. Celebrating, our Simcha band was playing, and it was a genuinely great party and really marks what I hope are more places for people to come together, to eat, to talk, to dance, to sing, and to just be in deep relationship.
Okay, one final program. As spring sprang and we cleaned up our Seder tables, we gathered in Powderhorn Park for our Passover dance party and ritual. Led in collaboration with local puppeteers and musicians, the program was intentionally grounded in a community that was at the center of Metro Surge and mutual aid activism. Shir Tikva kids and other neighbors danced through huge blue cloth, reenacting crossing the Red Sea out of Egypt. For many families who attended, this was in their first weeks leaving home after a winter of acute fear. Elders danced, kids twirled. There was face paint, face glitter, and puppets.
These are just 3 small snapshots of a year that has been collectively incredibly challenging, empowering, complex, and deeply, deeply relational. And over the course of the next year, we're really excited to work in collaboration with everybody in this room in person, everyone in this room on Zoom, everyone in our community not currently present at the annual meeting as well, to continue rooting down and reaching out. And want to invite you, all of your dreams, all of your ideas, all of your hopes for holidays, for programming, to bring them to Rabbi Joey and I, to Rabbi Ariel and I, to all of the people on the Bima. And we're excited to continue building that strong, firm core and wide-reaching leaves together.
Shakar.
Hi there. I'm Reina Barrios. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Operations here at Shir Tikva. We'd be remiss not to talk about our beloved Yesod Mutual Aid Fund. So we launched the Yesod Fund in January during the height of ICE's occupation in the Twin Cities to support our neighbors through the crisis. Over these past 19 weeks, we have raised and distributed over $8.3 million. Thank you. Thousands of families have had rent paid by the Yesod Fund, offering a sliver of hope and stability throughout this time of heartbreaking job loss, deportation, and community violence.
The Yesod Fund has officially surpassed the total rent relief support from the city and the county. We are proud not only of the total amount of resources we've moved into hands of those most impacted, but also the consistent, rapid, and sustained response we were able to provide applicants through these months. We open for requests each weekend and are verifying and paying folks by midweek.
As we speak right now, people across the Twin Cities Metro are pushing submit on their applications for round 20. Jess and I will start our workday tomorrow morning, processing over 1,000 requests, which will total over $4 million in need from this round. What's difficult to articulate is how relational this experience has been and how many helpers are out there making a web of care across our town. A teacher writes on behalf of the student's mother who is suddenly parenting alone after the father and sole income provider was deported. Can we help cover the cost of dinners and rent for the next 7 days? A social worker applies for a family with an eviction notice after their business on Lake Street closed in February. Can we pay their rent to help keep the kids' enrollment steady at their local school? A U of M student is now raising her younger siblings after both parents returned to Mexico. Can we pay the outstanding electricity bill and a trip to the dentist for the 4-year-old with a broken tooth? A pastor calls and tells us about the 3 families in hiding in the church basement. Can we provide a first month and security deposit for a safe new place for them to live?
When we sat together on those frigid January nights after watching the news and walking our streets, we asked each other what Shir Tikva does in the face of horror, how we show up, what our role looks like. We never imagined what those months would bring, but we stand here 6 months later to say, Shir Tikva showed up, Shir Tikva changed lives, Shir Tikva stood in the face of terror, and we were brave.
Oh, hello, my loves. Shavua Tov. So I became lead rabbi here in August 2023, and Shir Tikva was going through, Shir Tikva was going through a tremendous amount of change internally. And in October 2023, our Jewish world, our world got rocked, and we have not stopped reacting. And that has meant, just on a very personal and leadership level, that there was never a chance for me to say, this is my vision for Shir Tikva, because my vision for Shir Tikva was that we persisted, because I believe in this community. I love you, right? And that was my commitment, was that we would continue and to tend our mission. That was the vision, was survive. And these last 6 months have been tremendously powerful, because that was the first chance that I've had as your rabbi to live my vision, to live a sense of accountability to this community's vision and mission. But I just want to name that as I offer these words, because in all of this time, I was installed here in December 2023. There was not space for a vision. The only room there was let's try to figure out how to be together. And I'm so amazed that actually in the context of a fascist invasion of our state, and in the context of the amount of real, true existential threat that we're facing, our community is now able to say, I really feel like our community has the capacity now to say, what is our vision? What are we doing? What is our purpose? Because we're living it already. So how do we talk about it? So I get to talk to you about the why, which is this is my first why in these years of being a rabbi here at Shir Tikva. So thank you. So I want to share that 2 weeks ago I traveled to Texas with a few beloved colleagues as part of a march delegation to meet with clergy in Texas to see what they were doing. We still have community members who are detained, who are incarcerated in Texas, and we wanted to know, what is this pipeline between Minnesota and Texas? What's happening? And as part of that visit, I got to go to the Benson archives and sit with some of the papers from the Gloria Anzaldúa estate. If you've been touched by the work of Gloria Anzaldúa, queer, Chicana, feminist, cosmological theorist, can you raise your hand, an essayist? Yesher koach. If you are not yet raising your hand, can you raise your hand now? You're about to have your world rocked. Go check out Gloria Anzaldúa. So I felt like, so the archivist, when we showed up to the archive, handed each of us a folder. Each of us got one document from her estate to get to sit with, and I felt like I was getting set up on a blind date with an ancestor. And I sat down at the table and opened the folder and discovered an unpublished essay called Spiritual Activism, Making Altares, Making Altars, Making Connections. And this essay was a portal for me. I traveled into Gloria Anzaldúa's cosmology and system of meaning making, and I emerged changed. So I want to offer you a few words from this essay, yet unpublished, to ground us for our work in the coming years, to help us make sense of this moment of shift and struggle. So Gloria Anzaldúa wrote about the idea of Nepantla, which is a Nahuatl word that means in the middle space. It describes the liminal, often uncomfortable state of existing between worlds and identities and stories or ways of being. It is a place of uncertainty, but also of transformation and healing and creativity. And in her essay, Anzaldúa wrote about the experience of being lost or feeling like you're lost inside of Nepantla. She writes, these periods of being lost occur before I shift from one set of beliefs to another. And during that time, I am in between, indicative of a new awareness, of a shift in vision. And I want to share, I wonder if some of you are making this connection, that our tradition actually offers us a complementary concept to Nepantla, which is the Midbar, the wilderness. The wilderness is our own mythic middle space, this place of disorientation and transformation and deepening insight, between oppression and freedom, between what was and will be. The wilderness is where the Israelites come into relationship with the divine and where Torah is revealed. And resonating with what Anzaldúa's experience of being lost within the Nepantla, the rabbis of Talmud taught, Kol mi she'eno oseh atzmo kamidbar, hefker, eno yachol liknot et chochma ve'torah. Anyone who does not make themselves hefker, which is often translated as ownerless, but I think you can easily say lost. It's what's unclaimed. One who does not lose themselves in the wilderness cannot become wise, cannot acquire Torah. So essential to the potential for revelation is the experience of getting disoriented, of being lost, of releasing. Rabbi Shefa Gold teaches that this wilderness is the midwife of our new life. In the wilderness, we are stripped of disguises, defenses fall away, each part within us is forced to show its true face. So the truth is, and I don't think this is surprising, that we are living inside of Nepantla in this moment. We are living in the wilderness, in the Midbar, right now. The world does not feel stable. Institutions are strained and collapsing. Assumptions about democracy and safety and belonging and community are being tested. We are throwing our bodies, our energy, our resources into keeping each other safe, into fighting fascism and white Christian nationalism as it tries to entrench, into facing the real impact of climate change. And moments like these can convince us that urgency is the only spiritual discipline. But urgency alone cannot sustain our people. We need places where we can remember who we are, why we are here, and what we are building together. So Shir Tikva exists as a sanctuary in the Midbar, not trying to rush us through, but creating a space of practice that allows us to develop the tools and relationships that we need to shapeshift. We do not deny the real challenges and terrors that we face here in this sanctuary. We cannot deny them. But in this sanctuary, we claim the tools and the frameworks of our tradition to allow us to conceive of new ways of being, of organizing our lives, of building coalitions, of belonging to one another, of shape-shifting into new ways of being, of repairing ourselves into new coalitions and partnerships, of discovering new ways of resourcing each other. So Shir Tikva was founded to be a sanctuary in the Midbar, a response to an establishment Judaism that did not make space for queer love or for democratic structures of community building. I was with Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum this morning, from the founding rabbi of CBST, who's a friend of Rabbi Stacy Offner, and she said, people don't say enough how much Shir Tikva transformed the reform movement. That when Shir Tikva organized, and I have to confess, I haven't heard this from a movement elder like Rabbi Kleinbaum. She said, when Shir Tikva was founded, as a rejection of the idea that someone could be fired for being gay, that shot electric charge through the reform movement. And any success, please hear this, any successes that queer folks had inside of the reform movement, which is to say many and ongoing, was catalyzed by Shir Tikva's decision to stand by its rabbi and create this sanctuary. Tremendous. So that is our DNA. That is our DNA, is being a sanctuary in the Midbar, of saying we have to shapeshift and try something new. Shir Tikva is the dream of a Jewish practice that dignifies each person who enters our space, that welcomes each of us with radical hospitality, that asks each of us to bring our tenderest offering to our community with humility and with love. And I give thanks for Shir Tikva, this sanctuary in the wilderness, where we get to practice being capable of a different world. So part of our work as a community is to continue to cultivate practices together that help us meet uncertainty without despair, that help us be uncomfortable without collapsing. Practices that allow us to remain open to revelation, committed to one another, grounded in joy. Practices that help us remember that the task is not certainty. Certainty is not success. Relationship is success. And so I want to lift up Moth Story Hours with our Weisenheimers, and our LGBTQ Elders Circle, and our Torah for Tough Times conversations, and our Pesach puppet ritual, and the fact that we're apparently inviting many more puppets into future rituals. And this idea that Yesod does not exist as a one-time, one-off, but instead was created to be a standing fund to respond to the emergencies of this time of change. That's just 5 out of myriad moments of how it is that we are actually practicing being different in a time of change. So may Shir Tikva continue to be a sanctuary in the Midbar, a place where we remember who we are, why we are here, and what we are building together. May we access irrepressible joy and determination that allows us to keep going. May we remain open to transformation. May we discover new forms of belonging. And may we receive abundant and beautiful Torah waiting for us in this wilderness.
Thank you, Rabbi. Yasher koach. I will move us into a more business part of the conversation, so I'm not going to top that. I'll just say right now. The way that this works is I'll introduce a motion. I'll have someone introduce the motion and someone second, and then we'll make some brief remarks on the budget, and then we'll move to your questions and discussion. So just so everyone understands the order of things. I would now entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented. We do, thank you. We do have a quorum. The quorum rule is 50 members or 10% of member households, whichever is less. We have 50 members online and in the room. Thank you, Larry. Is there a motion to approve? So moved, Mary Hartman, seconded by Senator Bonnie Westland. Thank you. We will now begin discussion on the budget. Thank you. Just a few words again to introduce Jessica's more detailed remarks. And people on Zoom have the budget too as well? Okay, great. The document that we're looking at is the one that was on your table earlier. Fiscal 26-27 proposed budget. This is a balanced budget. I wish that the number on the back, there's a line on the back in the second column. Excel frustratingly puts it a line. I wish it said 0.00, but it's the same effect. Please correct me if I'm wrong afterwards, but to my knowledge, I don't think we've had a balanced budget for at least a decade at Shir Tikva, if ever. Right. There's a difference between budgeting and achieving the budget, as Jim wisely pointed out. Presenting a balanced budget shows the successes of the growth of our membership and our fiscal stewardship. I found some data from 2020, a little outdated, but I think it still stands, from Faith Communities Today, which shows that about 40% of North American Reform and conservative synagogues are growing, about 20% are stable in membership and fiscal outlays, and 40% are declining. So it's important to remember that we're in the minority here of growing congregations. We're doing something right. That's the top line. Of particular meaning to me in this budget are increased investments in building and security improvements. We have significant deferred maintenance, and these projects only get more expensive as time goes on, as inflation is beginning to increase again, and as the cost of materials and labor increase every year over year. We're making these investments now, not only to meet the direct needs of our membership, but because it is a sound fiscal decision, rather than waiting even more years to make the same investments at greater costs. And I'll turn it over to Jessica for more detailed remarks.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, clap for Joven. We have officially arrived at the best part of the meeting, the fiscal year 26-27 budget presentation. Before diving into the numbers, I want to thank the Board of Trustees and especially my beloved Finance Committee, who continue to challenge, support, and inspire me on a monthly basis. This budget has gone through multiple rounds of review with the Finance Committee, Executive Committee, Board, and congregants who offered thoughtful questions and feedback along the way. This budget is empowered by our community's collective wisdom. And now it comes to all of you for consideration and a vote. I present a budget that is balanced. More importantly, I believe it reflects who we are as a community and what we've learned over these last several years. A few years ago, much of our budget conversation centered on how to close deficits and stabilize our finances. Last year, I spoke about cautious optimism. And this year, I find myself thinking about and centering on the beginning stages of sustainability. This budget reflects a congregation that is growing, using its building in more diverse ways, investing in its future, and developing strong systems to support all of that work. On the revenue side, we are projecting an increase in pledge income. This reflects both the continued growth of our congregation and the consistency that we've seen over the past 3 years. It also reflects the ongoing work of communicating clearly about balance statements and financial commitments, and all of you investing in Shir Tikva and each other. High Holy Day revenue and expenses have both increased to better reflect the reality of the last several years. We are welcoming more people into our community, and that requires both greater investment and creates more opportunities. Tuition and tutoring revenue projections similarly reflect strong enrollment in both our B-Mitzvah program and JAMI. It is joyful to see a budget that reflects this level of participation. One significant addition this year is grant funding for security. We have received $130,000, which is being held in a restricted fund and will be released as those funds are utilized. You'll see this represented in both revenue under released restrictions and in our security expenses. We want to continue to invest safety while remaining committed to our values of radical hospitality and welcoming. Our released restrictions line is significantly higher than years prior. In addition to the aforementioned security grants, this line also includes our typical annual releases, ongoing support for facilities improvements, and restructuring of how we account for sponsorship gifts. Rather than treating sponsorships as general operating revenue, gifts designed for specific projects will now flow through the appropriate restricted fund and be released as those projects or intentions are fulfilled. This provides better transparency and aligns our accounting practice with how we actually use those funds. On the expense side, payroll remains our largest investment. This line includes salaries, payroll taxes, healthcare and dental benefits, retirement contributions, and professional development. We are a people-centered organization, and the budget reflects that reality. You'll also see increased investment in repairs and maintenance, landscaping, and snow removal. Over the past couple of months, we've made and will continue to make meaningful investments in our facility and property. We need reliable snow and ice management, safer sidewalks, healthier and more accessible grounds. The sidewalks, just you wait. One of my biggest takeaways over the last 4 years is that deferred maintenance does not get cheaper, especially in this economy. And sound stewardship means addressing our needs before they become crises. One thing I hope you feel in this budget is that it reflects confidence in the future of Shir Tikva and represents our values. This is more than numbers on a spreadsheet. It is a reflection of our commitment to each other, in honor of the early years of Shir Tikva and in our founding families, and to those who will inherit it. We are budgeting based on what we know, what we've learned, and the momentum that we built together. Now I bring you all back down to earth. I do not want to suggest that our financial challenges are behind us. We remain a community with diverse and growing needs. We have significant work ahead of us to make our building more accessible. We continue to carry the responsibility of an aging facility, including major infrastructure questions about our heating element and other long-term capital needs. The work of sustaining a justice-centered, radically welcoming shul requires ongoing investment, creativity, and collective commitment. As always, budgets are a forecast and a planning tool. The Finance Committee, board, and staff will review our financials throughout the year to make adjustments when needed and to continue to steward our resources responsibly. With that, we ask you to join us in approving the proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27.
We'll open for questions at this time if anybody has questions on the budget. Yes.
So I'll bring the mic over there.
Oh, yeah. One sec, so we can make sure the folks on Zoom hear your question.
So the line that says Shir Latid transfers,
Yeah.
Jess, you had mentioned that we withdrew some money from that fund for the building stuff.
Yep.
So I noticed that that both years are the same. So I was wondering if that number, 53,000, right, reflects that building. And then I'm also interested in what percentage that $53,000 represents of the whole Latid fund.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you, Jenny. So When we passed this budget last year, we did that without the understanding that I, along with the board, were going to approve a facilities investment plan. And so you see part of those dollars represented in this budget under released restrictions, because the $120,000 pull from Sheer Latede is in a restricted fund that is dedicated to the building. Every year, we make a draw on our investment fund, and we have an equation that measures our last 5 years of performance of the fund. So we're acting pretty conservatively with that draw to pull interest without touching the principal. And that has been an ongoing year-to-year draw that we make, and that is the $53,000 that you see represented in this budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will also read from Zoom. So folks on Zoom, you are welcome to put your questions in the chat or raise your hand on Zoom, and I will bring the microphone over to the computer. I'm going to do a couple online while you have time, or in person while you have time to do that online.
So I'm delighted about this question, but on the back of the page, a couple lines down, the bank fees and service charges, we reduced it from $8,000 to $1,000. How did that happen?
So we were previously with Bremer Bank that merged or was purchased by Old National, and they have a different structure for charging us fees. And so it was grateful for that merger. Sometimes there was hardships, but we made it.
All right, I'm going to do one on Zoom while I'm over here. Jane Newman is wondering about the actual revenue and expenses from 2026.
Yeah, so 2026, the latest numbers that we have are the closing April with about a $60,000 deficit, which again is pretty typical of the year. There are some, if I had a third column on here about 26, you'd see some shifting in, we spent more on food we spent more on food than I anticipated. There was an increase on the contract and professional fee side, and then we had an increase on the revenue side of contributions and major donor contributions.
I just want to add to that, again, that's pretty typical for that time of year. And as Jessica mentioned before, we have $200,000 in outstanding pledges and $75,000 in outstanding tuition payments. So if all of those payments were made, we'd be in a great place at the end of this fiscal year. So the power to achieve that is in all of your hands.
Another on Zoom, Mariasha Katz and Lycan Schmatz said, where are things like paying for ASL interpreters landing in this budget?
Yeah, that is typically classified as expenses under 6100 contract and professional fees.
Thank you. Back to in person, and if you can say your name so the online people know who you are.
Caroline Schultz. And my question is, if we look into the future about doing a new heating system, getting our bathrooms downstairs working, kind of doing the lower level refurbishing, are we looking at fundraising, or how are we anticipating that work, and when do we think that will start?
Yeah, so I just last week got an updated estimate for a new boiler system from Gilbert. Very exciting. I will share the clapper over there. Barry and I have been working since I started on what I would call quiet fundraising from about 10 households, and we have verbally secured about half of the cost of that new heating element. That does include fixing the pipes below the bathrooms. We anticipate it to be around a $200,000 cost right now. So we have about $100,000 in verbal commitments to fundraise that, and then we'll do additional fundraising as is needed.
All right.
Thank you. Jackie Kramer. With the, I'm imagining a good amount of staff time spent on administering Yesod. Is there income, are you taking administrative expenses, and how does that show up in 26 and 27?
Yeah, great question. So we are taking an administrative fee, as is standard, for operating a fund, especially one as large and impactful as ours has grown. This budget does not reflect that, which I actually think is a good thing. So I started draft budgeting in early February, 1 week into us having launched the Yesod Fund.
Trying to raise $1 million.
Not even yet. Yeah, we launched with $50,000 and really had no idea where we were going. And so that was not taken into account or represented here. So there is a restricted fund right now that is admin fees. And the next big conversation with board and staff, Ariel and I have 3 hours in a couple of weeks here scheduled to begin to explore how that money will impact our budget and what's our long-term strategy for those funds. And so we've just been in the place of administering and tracking everything, being really above board, so that we're in line with nonprofit recommendations, our lawyer recommendations, all of those pieces. That's been our focus. And the next piece will be how we want to strategically use those funds for the long-term impact that we want them to have at Shir Tikva.
Hi, Kelly Casey. I'm not seeing anything under the sponsorship for 2027, and I'm wondering what exactly are we sponsoring that we did $35,000 for, but
yeah.
And then I have another question about the management of all the volunteer teams. There is an expense in running those teams because I've been on them, and there's some expenses there. So I'm wondering, like, where's the chart of accounts for those, or where does it fall under?
Yeah. So the sponsorships line, this was a holdover from previous rabbis. It was a line in our budget that we have just not really utilized under my tenure, or it's been utilized differently. Like, I have seeked and received sponsorship gifts, but run them through the restricted funds so that there's better accounting. And so this was the year that I was willing to make the leap. You see the sponsorships line on this budget, but you won't see it next year. Like, I'm eliminating the line, and they'll be reflected in restricted fund releases.
Can you speak into the microphone so people can?
Yeah.
I think that the sponsorship line was Shir Tikva sponsoring, Shir Tikva sponsoring other events. Congregants would come to us. Well, it was in the past.
Okay.
Because I was on the finance committee when John came to us and said that he had established a form to use because people just kept running up to him and there wasn't a system, so that it had to be more systematic.
Yeah, that is probably true, but during my tenure, that is not at all how the sponsorship line was used, or I think even in the couple of years prior, it was, again, my understanding, I was not here, but that staff was receiving money from outside of the Shir Tikva community for folks who are willing to sponsor an event or sponsor, a new something in the kitchen, and it's just not how the finance committee, myself, and our bookkeeper have been tracking those gifts.
We had one question online of what Rabbi Ariel said when we were laughing, and that was that we had not yet aimed for $1 million. We were only aiming for 50,000 at the time. Thank you for asking. We're doing our best to keep everyone talking into the mics over here. I'm running around, getting my exercise.
Hi, I'm Joe Mitchell. My question is that on the payroll expenses, that's a 0.3 increase, and I'm concerned about how valuable and hardworking our staff is, whether there's sufficient increases to staff pay or staff number to decrease the load on each of you individually. So why isn't there more of an increase for staffing?
Yeah, we had significant shifts in staffing this year, particularly anticipating Rabbi Stiefel's departure, Jace coming on, restructuring of our Director of Youth and Family Education into 2 separate roles. And so there have just been a lot of internal shifting, but I am happy to share that every staff person got an increase in pay that is above just general inflation. That being said, I think the payroll expenses line is always shifting a little bit, and so we could close the year differently, one piece, we recently brought on a cleaner part-time, and so money is also, it's always moving differently in the budget, but I'm always focused on the bottom line, right? Like it's just reflected differently in different line items, but aiming to close with a balanced budget while we are paying our staff well and giving them good benefits.
Did you have a final question, Kelly?
Kelly is bringing us back to the question about how we account for volunteer time in the budget.
So sorry, Kelly. It's represented all over the place. Like it's heavily represented in the payroll expenses line because staff tending to volunteers is a significant part of our hours. It's in the food and beverage line. It's in the supplies line. Like volunteer capacity and commitment is in so many line items in the budget. It's just not broken out as a volunteer line. Correct. Yeah.
Final question from Mary Hartman and Andrea. Two final questions, and then we need to move on, being cognizant of time.
Thank you, unaccustomed as I am. I'm on some other boards of nonprofits, and we also show in revenue volunteers' time as, you know, this in-kind contribution, and that's something that I think we should be proud of, and we should show. Maybe you do it in the audit. I just think it's really important to do that and show it as in-kind contribution.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea and just something that we've never pursued here, but really open to it. Thank you, Mary. I think this is going to be our last question before we vote, but I am riveted. I love when people are interested in the budget. I'm feeling alive, so please email me, reach out if you want to talk about it some more.
So this is not a question. It's a thank you.
Oh.
As a member of the Finance Committee, I think I speak for all of us in saying you have done such an incredible, wonderful job, and we appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you for saying that, Andrea. I actually texted Jess's husband while she was presenting to say, how are you so lucky? And we feel really lucky too.
I second that, certainly. We have a motion on the table to approve the budget. Once Raina is ready, we are going to move to a vote. Raina, are you ready? Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of approving the fiscal year 26-27 budget as presented, please raise your hand. And on Zoom, please indicate with the yes vote. All those opposed, now please raise your hand or indicate no on Zoom. And any abstentions? Thank you. The budget is approved. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to welcome Samantha and Andrea to the BIMA, who co-chaired our nominations process this year, for which I am extremely grateful and thrilled with the outcome for the election of board trustees and officers. The process is that I'm going to ask for a motion. Then we're going to open up discussion, at which point Samantha and Andrea are going to share some reflection about our new board members, and then we will vote. So is there a motion to present the full slate of trustees and officers to the congregation for a vote? Yes from Mr. Jim, thank you, and seconded from Julie. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
Okay, my name is Andrea Breen. I use she, her pronouns. I have been vice president and also co-president with Jonah, and I'm going to share I'm going to share a little bit about our nominations process and kind of what's happening with the board moving forward. So I'm going to start with the board members who are leaving, the board members who are continuing, and then we'll get to the new board members. So we're thrilled to present the board this slate of candidates for the Board of Trustees 26 to 28. We believe they'll bring commitment, creativity, and outstanding leadership skills to serve Shir Tikva. And I'm going to start with the board members who are completing their terms or choosing to leave the board this June and will not be returning to the board. And just as we've kind of talked about how lucky, not just with Jess, but I would say with all of our staff here at Shir Tikva, I feel similarly with our board. We've had a really great board in the time that I've been on the board, and sad to see some of these folks going. So the following board members are completing their terms, are choosing to leave the board, and will not be returning. We have, and if you're here, some of you are here, and some aren't, but if you're here, maybe you could stand up. So Linda Alter Capel, Emma Stout, I don't think Emma's here. Ray Anschel. He's traveling. Abby Shane. And Catherine Tain, who's also traveling. So we are very incredibly grateful for the service to the congregation. Some of you have been on for a shorter time, some for longer. I'm particularly a little bit sad that I won't get to work with Abby moving forward, but it's been great the time we've had. And we are incredibly and the following trustees are in the middle of a 2-year term and are going to be continuing. So Samantha Roller, Liz Loeb, Della Casey, but I can't remember. Thank you. And Jonah Rothstein. And then the following trustees are renewing into their next 2-year term, and a few of you are here, so maybe wave your hand if you're here. Sophie Gutturl, Rona Label, Milo Trachtenberg, here, right? And I will be serving through December, not only because I'm going to be leaving the country to join my husband in South Korea in December. So that's why I'm not continuing on after that. And I'm going to pass it over to Samantha to talk about our new oncoming board members.
Thanks, Andrea, for that. You will surely be missed. I think I speak for all of us here that we are just so grateful for your service and your commitment to the community, so thank you for that. And with that, I will share the slate of congregants nominated to be elected by the congregation to new 2-year terms beginning on July 1st, 2026. They are Tamar Gedalia, Sam Savella, Carolyn Schultz, Jim Norden, Renee Devine, Barry Epstein, and finally Linda Lowenstein as well. We're really looking forward to serving with all of you and to the contributions you're going to make to our community in the next year. Finally, I just want to give a shout out to the other nominating committee members who offered their time, their wisdom, and their powers of discernment in this process. They are Amy Funk, Claude Riedel, and then Sid Stratman as well. I also want to give recognition to the staff and clergy, Emily and Jess, and of course our rabbi team, just all so impactful in this process, and really grateful for your help. So thank you.
And then I also want to just thank the nominating committee for the folks who helped with, we had kind of a small nominating committee, but we were mighty and we interviewed a lot of candidates, and we were excited to have folks who were interested in the board. So myself and Samantha were on that, as well as Amy Funk, Claude, we just did that. Oh, I didn't even hear you did that.
All right. Thank you, everybody. The full slate is now before the congregation for a vote. All members in favor of approving the Board of Trustees and officers, please indicate by saying aye or voting on Zoom. Are there any opposed or? Are there any opposed? And are there any abstentions? I'm always like, this is the part at the wedding. Any objections? We once had a protest at a wedding of those of us who met doing protest work, where then we had sign, like cardboard, like inside of our pants, and we took them out and opposed the wedding, and all in good fun, and it was super fun. It was like, show us what love looks like. This is what love looks like, and we blocked the aisle. Anyway, back on track. I'm not president anymore. I am until July 1st. Raina, do we have information from the Zoomies? All right, the motion passes and the slate is approved. Thank you all. We are almost done with our business, but we have a couple of more items to discuss before we adjourn.
I'm going to give an executive report on behalf of the Board of Trustees. So thank you for being here. Like I said before, the past fiscal year was a year unlike any other in the 38-year history of this little South Side shul. I'll share some of what we did this year to support and move forward the congregation's work. The Jewish year, 5786, began as it always does, about 2 to 3 months after the fiscal year. We saw a second consecutive year of record high holiday attendance and fundraising, a reflection of our congregation and the wider Jewish community who choose to spend High Holy Days with us. We continue to balance increased High Holy Days programming needs with increased fundraising, and I expect this trend to continue in future years. It certainly goes without saying that the year was defined by Metro Surge, which began in December. The federal government brought with it mass violations of constitutional and civil rights to our state. Congregants began to mobilize as early as Thanksgiving and early December to support community members who needed groceries, rides to and from work, childcare, and funds to cover rent. As the public's consciousness awakened following the murder of Renee Good on January 7, Shir Tikva mobilized formally in several concrete ways. We developed a policy barring federal immigration agents from the building unless they have a signed judicial warrant seeking someone who is actually in the building, and the policy remains in effect and unchanged. The staff, Rabbi Ariel and Jess in particular, identified the desire from out-of-state Jewish institutional and individual donors to have a trusted fund to support our neighbors. The board met in an emergency meeting just days after the murder of Alex Preddy to establish the Yesod Fund, a trusted fund for distribution of resources to our neighbors who were targets of the administration. A few weeks into the fund, as has been mentioned, we set a modest, somewhat ambitious at the time, goal of $1 million towards this work through the extremely hard work of our staff and rabbinic team, and through the generosity of people in this room, in and out of state, individual and institutional donors. We've raised $8.3 million towards the Yesod Fund. As Jessica mentioned, that has outpaced the combined city and county rental assistance funds. So this is a really monumental achievement, and that's why we're talking about it so much. It's important to understand that this work does not happen by itself. There is no magical Harry Potter mail distribution system for these rental assistance checks. There's no owls, and the mail doesn't send itself. Jessica, Raina, and the entire staff have put in countless additional hours of work to make that happen. I want folks to understand that they have regularly worked 60 to 70-hour weeks since February to administer this fund, to ensure that the funds are distributed properly to screen and vet individuals requesting financial support, and their work must not go unnoticed or unrecognized. Please join me in a round of applause for our staff. And for Florence, of course. Given the immense staff capacity required to administer YESOD in its current form, it won't look the same as it currently does in future months and in future years. We'll keep the fund open in existence to respond to future crises in the community, but we obviously have to transition our staff's capacity back to some sense of normalcy in the coming weeks. The work doesn't perform itself. There are real people, our staff, who have worked tirelessly to meet the community's needs in an unprecedented time, and I'm so grateful for their stepping up in this way. To the building, as we continue to lean into our building while growing our congregation, both in terms of member households and programming needs, it was clear to us as a board that this was the year to begin significant facilities investments. You all have received communications about this, and it's been highlighted today. The board approved a $120,000 investment in our facilities. Some of those improvements include LED lights throughout the building, paid for almost entirely with green energy tax credits. A new commercial copy machine. Does anyone remember we used to have one of those? Painted walls, love the color. New carpet and vinyl laminate flooring in the Oneg Hall and the sanctuary, and more will soon be done. New furnishings and art, a refreshed 50th Street facade, sidewalks. Thank you, Julie. New signage inside the building, a new electrical panel. That's a fun one. Very important, very important. We have, and as Jessica mentioned too, we have one-time physical security investments to the tune of about $45,000, including new cameras and doorbell access system, better exterior floodlighting, a replacement of the Girard side door, security film on the first floor windows and doors, and fob access for a few of our senior leaders' offices and the main office door. So a lot has happened and a lot will continue to happen. And this is the time to do it. And as we say goodbye to Rabbi Stiefel, with immense gratitude for her kindness, her warmth, and the work that she has done for Shir Tikva, not only in this recent stint as our pastoral care rabbi, but also, some of you will recall, she was the interim rabbi of Shir Tikva between Rabbi Offner and Rabbi Latz. Thank you. And we are excited to have a clergy team of 3 full-time rabbis. With the board having signed an initial employment contract for Rabbi Jace and a renewal contract for Rabbi Joey. We have a lot to be grateful for. We are on an upward trajectory. The work is not complete, certainly, but there's more to do, and we're excited to do it. So thank you for being here in person and virtually, and for your dedication to Shir Tikva. Shavua Tov. I know.
So I would love to invite Rabbi Stiefel up onto this bima. I'm going to invite clergy, please, to rise. Actually, I'm going to invite our whole community to rise. When we come to the end of a Sefer Torah, when we come to the end of a reading of a book of Torah or the end of the full Torah, we rise. And I just want us to take this moment of appreciation and gratitude in honor of our beloved colleague who, she looks at me, she's like, "Are you crying?" neither confirming nor denying, so we get to bless you. Beloved Rabbi Stiefel, may this next phase of your life be like a verdant garden.
May you gather seeds of wisdom and joy in your travels.
May you till the soil of your life with Davida and your beloved kids.
May you bask in the sunshine of Torah from Kaplan to Kohelet, nourishing yourself and teaching others.
And may your literal garden bloom. May the cucumbers and tomatoes continue to proliferate on Stanford Avenue. May you enjoy this tiny and really just heartfelt wish and investment in that said garden. Many of us have gotten to sample the wares of that garden. They're delicious. And we just really want to bless you. And we're going to make a web, actually. Like the way we bless challah by touching someone who's touching someone who's touching the challah. I'm going to invite this whole community, please. And if you're on Zoom, if you can just reach your arms out, bring your faces closer to the camera, turn on your cameras. But I'm going to invite us, please. We're going to come off the bima, and we're going to bless you with Birkat Kohanim. And Rabbi Stiefel, please just receive from the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that you have touched here at Shir Tikva. You have tended this community like a garden, and we are so grateful to you. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May you be blessed, may you be protected. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May you be filled with light, and may light surround you in the paths that you walk.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May peace accompany you everywhere you go. May it always be a companion.
If we can, as a community, say Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
And if we can also just say thank you, Rabbi Stiefel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Stiefel.
Yesha koach on beautiful years of service. Thank you.
There's more. We're getting close. We're so close. Okay. I know all of you know them, but Jim and Andrea Rubenstein are going to intro the Radical Hospitality Award.
Shalom, everyone. I'm going to say a little bit about the award that we're giving, the Hachnasat Orchin Radical Hospitality Award, and Andrea will tell us a little about this year's honorees, Shay Berkowitz and Phyllis Weiner. But I just want to start by noting my personal gratitude to this whole congregation during all the support and good wishes I received when I was really sick last year. Clergy, staff, the caring committee, and just other members of the congregation who were stopping by and sending notes. It really helped me get through a very difficult time, which thankfully I'm pulling out of. I also, along with Andrea, want to thank Rondi Aitken for filling in for us last year when we were unable to be at the award ceremony. But back in 2015, Andrea and I were honored and embarrassed to be the first recipients of the Hachnasat Orchin Radical Hospitality Award. It literally means welcoming guests. And the phrase, the concept of radical hospitality, both arise from the story in the book of Genesis when Abraham, resting outside his tent in the heat of the day, notices 3 individuals near his doorway. He immediately runs to greet them and to mobilize his spouse, Sarah, and their entire household to furnish these visitors with extraordinary respect and hospitality. Shir Tikva's vision of hospitality goes even further. To borrow a phrase from Rabbi Ariel, the concept is essential to the potential of the congregation. And the story in Genesis refers to strangers, but our awardees, and especially Phyllis and Shay, who we're going to talk about in a minute, go beyond visitors. They neighbors, this whole congregation, people known and unknown, have benefited by their work. They and our previous award recipients are guideposts in how to serve our community. I'd like to read off the names of previous recipients, but in the interest of time, maybe you could hold your applause till I'm done, and then you can just really whoop it up to your heart's content. If you're here in person or virtually, maybe you could stand up or wave your hand on your screen. And here's the roster of wonderful people we've had to honor. Julie Jacobs, David Raskus, Luke Weisberg, Barry Epstein, Tamar Gedalia, Dennis Guillaume and Pat Karasov on behalf of the Sanctuary Movement Committee, Gail Zoffer, Rondi Aitken, Caroline Schultz for their work with the Caring Committee, Macomb Minion leaders Lori Sweet, Harry Adler, and Sam Savela, and last year, Jammy parents Temeka and Perry Coons. Thank you to all of them. And now Andrea will tell us a little about Phyllis and Shay.
So we are here with great delight to honor Shay Berkowitz and Phyllis Weiner with this year's Radical Hospitality Award. Shay and Phyllis, hi, you're here. You're here on Zoom and up north at the same time. Shay and Phyllis joined Shir Tikva 38 years ago after they had just had a baby and wished to find a community aligned with their social activist values. Right away, they became a big part of this community. Phyllis joined the board early on, and Shay began 13 years of teaching in the religious school. We got to know Shay as the beloved teacher she was, because she had a big impact on our daughter, who was... Shay, what did I say?
Say they, not she.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Shay. We got to know Shay as the beloved teacher they were because they had a big impact on our daughter, who was one of their adoring students then, and one of their adoring admirers ever since. As for Phyllis, we had gotten to know Phyllis even before Phyllis knew Shay, when we were all new to Minnesota years and years ago. That's our claim to fame. It's been so easy for so many years to be among those of her adoring friends. But this Radical Hospitality Award isn't the least bit about our friendship, although it's nice for us. It's about the many, many contributions that Phyllis and Shay have made to this community and the broader community. Over the years, they have been associated with and supported just about every social justice organization in Minnesota. Their current focus is to provide support that will enhance leadership development and racial equity in Minnesota. As one example, with Headwaters Foundation, they organized members of Shir Tikva in a giving circle, one of the philanthropic activities of Headwaters geared toward Tikkun Olam. This past year, we faced the Metro surge. Shay and Phyllis have had a central role in our congregational partnership with San Pablo Church through training people to get engaged, people who are still supporting families. They have been contributing their time and resources to ensure that victims of ICE receive the support they have needed, housing support, healthcare, transportation, and more. They have also been good neighbors in other ways, training as observers and witnesses at mosques and churches where people have been targeted. To quote Jess, and I thank her for these most apt words, over these past months, Shay and Phyllis have shown extraordinary care and commitment in supporting our neighbors impacted by Operation Metro Surge and its fallout. Quietly and consistently, they have helped numerous people stay housed and connected folks to food and basic necessities. They've shown up with generosity, dignity, and deep care for community. We asked Shay and Phyllis what message they might want to convey to all of you. They said that they feel proud of being part of Shir Tikva because of the current process, our mutual aid leadership, and hope that it will continue in partnership and breaking down walls. As Shay says, we are Minnesota and we are Shir Tikva too. After this terrible year of the Metro Surge and the persistent acts of injustice raining down on all of us, you too have been a beacon of hope. Thank you for all you do for Shir Tikva and the world by your Tikkun Olam.
All right, everyone. This is the close of our annual meeting. I will start with a few housekeeping announcements. One is that we, as I mentioned, the diverse ways that we use our building, have a funeral at 2:30 p.m. So as many folks as are willing to stick around to help us reset the space, we need to clear the round tables and get chairs set up in typical service orientation. And then Rabbi Ariel is going to sing us out.
The rabbis are going to come. We're going to offer a closing blessing.
Oh, closing blessing,
So
of course.
One of our first acts as a team of three. Team of four, yay! Team of four. Our last act is a team of four. Gosh, okay, thank God. First and last act is a team of four. So we want to close by blessing this community as a holy sanctuary. God commanded us, "Vasuli mikdash v'shochanti b'tocham." Let me make a sanctuary and I will dwell amongst you. So let's build for God and for each other a sanctuary, a place of righteousness and silliness, of tenderness and strength.
On message, may our kids continue to find the nooks and crannies of our sacred building, making this place their own.
May all of those in the Twin Cities who are facing violence and discrimination be able to come to and look towards Shir Tikva as a haven, a place of safety, shelter, peace, and justice.
Within this sanctuary, may we find each other in seasons of joy and sorrow with hot dish, cards, gentle presence, and song.
So let us build this sanctuary together in this year to come. We'll close in song. Ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la Yasher Koach. We're going to take a quick picture, correct? And then we're going to help shift the space. Let's all gather near Andrea Breen. Andrea Breen is waving. Yes, that's right. Let's squish. Let's say goodbye to our Zoomers. Goodbye, Zoom friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you.